Hi, and welcome to All Access Pass. I'm your host, Angela Stribling. Actually, I'm the host, and I have a very handsome co-host. It's all about Peabo Bryson, and we're going to get started. I have to introduce my co-host, Mr. Tony Cornelius.
Thank you, thank you. She's very good. She's very good at that, isn't she? She makes it sound really cool. And,
I'm excited. I'm really
Wow,
excited
wow.
about this interview right here.
Listen, Peabo is off the hook. He's off the hook. He's off the hook.
Yes. You guys have so much history. I think you should get started. We were talking about a lot of things. Go for it, Tony.
Well, you know, Peabo has been with us for quite some time. He was a very, very, very close friend of my father, and he's my mentor at this point. We've had very personal conversations about business and life and things of that nature, and I'm just absolutely joyed that he's here on the Soul Train Cruise.
So
well,
for starters,
you see, the thing is, mutual respect is a hard thing to get, an easy thing to lose, and impossible to replace. Like most people, that's my philosophy in life. I'm easy to get. I mean, hard to get, really. Hard to get, easy to lose, and impossible to replace.
I love
But
that.
you see, and that's the philosophy I'm trying to get Tony to adapt more to. The reason why is because I admire him so much because he's a quintessential gentleman. You know, and I think that in our culture, it's far too often that we don't acknowledge the importance of a gentleman. There's this, you know, we live in a day and age where you have the loudest voice in the room is the one that's heard, and what's said with the loudest voice is the only thing that's remembered. I stay after him because I have my own mentor that stays after me. My mentor is Bill Withers, of all people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, let me tell you. So he calls to vent, really. You know, so he calls and he's venting and he's going off about one thing or another. He's absolutely correct and he's absolutely true. Like his music, that's what you see is what you get, right? But he reminded me of something that a way of a philosophy I wasn't really looking at. He said, after all the things I've said to you and all the things that we've agreed upon that are right or wrong and are absolutely true, at the end of the day, two things are going to take place. We can never say those things because at the end of the day, the only people that will be judged will be him and me. I can't say what the truth is. And let me tell you something. Being handcuffed to not be able to say what the truth is and not to be able to be yourself in a way that, you know, you want to say what you see, you want to pass on the wisdom of what you know because you've been there and you've struggled through it. It's... At the end of the day, I'd much rather be Tony Cornelius because that's what I'll have to be to get my job done and to get better and to move forward. I'll still have to be a gentleman at the end of the day.
Can you sing, Tony?
Well, if you're listen, you know how I'm saying. Look, movie star looks. Let's be glad this guy doesn't sing. I am.
He doesn't need to sing.
No,
You know,
he said it all, but we're here to talk about Peabo Bryson, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but we are talking about me when we're talking about you. I mean, because it's respect is something that's not. It's tangible in a way that's almost physical. You are a part of that person. That person is a part of you. So when I'm talking about your attributes as a human being, I'm also discussing mine because I have to have those attributes to be aware of yours.
that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, so we can talk about me till the cows come home if you want. I mean, does anybody want to ask anything that's it can be untoward. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be something that's just totally off the wall.
We
might
have
get to
some
that
questions.
maybe after our questions. They can
Yes.
go
Okay.
after our questions.
What would you like?
Because I got some questions for
I
him.
do too.
all
I
right?
got
All right,
some
so-
questions for
You know,
so,
you.
all right,
I got
good.
all these freaking notes right here, and I don't want to waste
We've been doing our
All right,
research.
all right. She got her notes. I got my
Exactly.
notes.
Let's do this, Tony. You go for your question
exactly,
first.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
No. But seriously, if you guys would like to ask questions as we get to the end of the show,
we're
it's
first.
fine with me.
Tony's saying that's me. That means after me.
But no, people, I just wanted to start by saying that, talking a little bit about your mom and how she was the one that got you involved in this. I mean, that was something that I learned that was absolutely beautiful.
You
know?
don't think about mothers as being proactive in their children's lives, especially when it's something like as sordid as the music business. I mean, my mother was terrified at first, I'm sure, you know, because everything that she'd heard about everybody she admired was there was always some negative aspect to it that she didn't want me to experience in my life, as you wouldn't want your children to. But I saw it different because of my mother, because I got a chance to see the greatest artist of all time. I started going to concerts when I was 4 years old. My mother couldn't go without my older sister and myself. My grandmother was like, "Yeah, you can go. Have fun. Take these two with you." You know, I mean, that's the way it was. I mean, I'm sorry. That's, there's nothing for it. So there I was sitting there, 4 years old, and I'm watching Sam Cooke live. And before I'm watching Sam, Jackie Wilson comes out. I mean, we talking Lonely Teardrops was I think Stop Dogging Me Around was the single or something. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. I saw Jerry Butler have the Iceman, they called him, because if you weren't civilized and civil in the way you were interacting and the way you were watching his program, he'd stop singing. He said, when you sit down and you're ready to listen, I'm good. Wow. And people would sit down. I never saw anybody control the crowd like that. Are you kidding? So people would sit down, and he had the one move that he would make. When he sang For Your Precious Love, he would fall down on one knee. And women would die. Jackie Wilson put Prince to shame. Good God. You're talking about dry humping the stage and all that. How could in the middle of segregation now? I mean, he was, but then at the same time, he turned around, changed clothes, because the first 10 rows of black women would tear his suit literally off. He'd go change clothes, he'd come back, pin spot, sits on a stool, and throws his jacket over his shoulder and sings Danny Boy and makes the white audience weep. Now, here's what I'm watching. I'm 4 years old, and I'm watching music transcend religion, race, politics. It didn't matter. When they did what they did, I thought that was the most elegant, most powerful thing I've ever seen in my life, and that's always been my concept, which is the reason why I've never recorded a song that I could not sing in front of my mother. And it didn't stop me from being sexy. Right? It doesn't. You can open your shirt and you can slouch down in your chair, and the man can be sexy for a long time, which is unfair, women. It's unfair, isn't it? The men, the older they get, they kind of stay sexy. I mean, because there are women in here who still, if Sean Connery were to walk in this room, please, this interview would be over.
Plenty sexy.
Yeah, but I'm saying that but when you get a chance to see what the power of music and what it's really meant for, it kind of stays with you. That's what you see and what your experience is the first time you experience it. I'm watching Sam Cooke and his background vocals and vocalist and all that. I'm just watching it. I'm paying attention to everything, and it turns out years later that one of his background vocalists was Dionne Warwick. Yeah, I mean, she was just a kid at the time. She didn't have a solo career or anything like that. But when you think about, I saw the original Drifters, the original Ike and Tina Turner review, and oh please, Tina, every man that I knew went to see those legs. I don't care. We didn't care about anything else. She could yell and scream, and Tina could do anything she wanted to.
And you know what, Peabo? You're talking about how men retain their sexy as they get older. She is a clear example.
How about
of how
that?
The ladies
That's
do
why
it.
I brought it up.
You know what?
Yes,
and you
yes.
know what? We want to talk so much about Peabo Bryson, your music in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right here on All Access Pass. We are talking to someone who has, gosh, talk about a triple threat and beyond. the one and only Mr. Peabo Bryson. He's got so many stories.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my co-host Tony Cornelius, we've got so many questions for you. Let's
Please.
talk about, okay, the music of the 70s and 80s. You ruled the 70s and 80s. Let's talk about those days.
And on top of that, people, I'd like to also add that the gift that you have in collaborating with artists is just unreal. It's just unreal.
You know, it's one of those things that you never start out thinking that you're going to do. But when I look back at my career, even the very first song I ever sang that to an audience where a girl screamed was a duet. It was a Sam and Dave, old Sam and Dave's, When Something Is Wrong with My Baby. Oh yeah, I know. And I heard those girls screaming. I said, oh. These were all the unattainable girls.
Uh-oh.
I said, okay, I know what I'm going to be. So it's one of those. I think you have a great advantage in your life if you find what a passion for what you do early on. So having made my choice very early, I've been living a life that makes me comfortable within my own skin. I mean, you just get to a point where you don't get scared like I was scared when I was getting ready to sing When Something Is Wrong with My Baby. I was trying to play and sing at the piano, and this leg just started moving on its own, and it didn't stop until it wanted to stop. And once I relaxed, I was good. So the whole duet thing is, you get chosen by people. People that you don't expect to ever work with at all. For some reason, something about me and what I do resonated with Roberta Flack. And when you say Roberta Flack, we should put all our hands together.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely adore her. She sought me out for this. Now, we had a manager in common, but that doesn't have anything to do with seeking somebody out to even remotely try to stand in Donnie's shoes. Come on, you start talking about standing in Donnie Hathaway's shoes, you better be a god. Yeah. You know, you can't be the god, but you'd have to be pretty much a god, because if I'm honest, listening to Donnie Hathaway's Extension of a Man CD album at the time, listening to it freed me to be the kind of artist I wanted to be. You know, I could just sing the melody and make it pay off, and people can understand the words that you're singing, and all of that. So he freed me in a way that I was never going to be free if I was left on my own, if I'd never heard his work. The purity of his voice and the purity of the way he approached music, and that it's the melody. It is what it is. You take it and you make it yours, but you don't compromise it, which is
And that just also reminds me of, you know, a little known fact, if you guys weren't not familiar with that, Beauty and the Beast with Celine Dion was also
well,
Bryson,
you know,
as well as A Whole New World with Regina Bell. I mean, these are like,
Of which
these give me chills.
he
These
won
songs
an
give me
Oscar
chills.
and a Grammy.
Well, so
for,
here's the thing.
both of them.
Right. But here's the thing about that. So I mean, everybody knows that they're Ariana and John have done it, right? And there's a difference between, you have to really, if you get a chance to sing a Disney song like that, something that's a great song that's written by Alan Menken and Tim Rice, you first of all want to know what it's for. What is it going to be used for? You don't just do it, right? And if you think about Beauty and the Beast, think about what it really means to children. It teaches. It's a song that teaches children to look beyond the surface to find beauty beneath what they see. What a great lesson to teach a child. Are you getting there? It's so. If you don't understand that that's what it is, and you're just singing a song trying to compete with the people that sang it before you, we didn't. The deal is, songs like that don't come with a manual, and they don't come with a person that's going to tell you how to sing it or has a suggestion for how you're going to sing it. It's whatever you give it. It's whatever you do in that moment. Your interpretation of it. There's no help from anybody. You know, you had the song. This is the track. Sing it. These are the lyrics. You sing it. And the first time I met Celine was in the studio. We didn't know each other. We just agreed to sing something with each other maybe 6 months prior to that. We didn't have a song. It just happened to come up. So when you start to think about that, we didn't have a model. In other words, it was a happening. It did what it did. Whereas they at least had a model, and they still didn't get the meaning of it. So it's not about you. It's about who's going to be listening to it and what the music is saying. It goes back to the first thing that we talked about how the power of music and what the platform of music should be. It's the universal language. It speaks the same language. It speaks actually every language it speaks. I can sing that song, Beauty and the Beast, or any of those songs anywhere in the world and get the same reaction in the same place. It transcends language barriers and cultural barriers and spiritual barriers, and it does. That's great music when it does that. And if I'm honest, I stopped talking about success. I stopped counting the success of Beauty and the Beast when it got to 28 million. You stop. Why chronicle it any longer? But it gets that way because it's Disney. They resurface it every couple of years or so, right? And I think that John and Ariana, I think they did a fine job of recording the song. I just don't think that it has the same passion and the same depth as. But you can't compare. It's unfair to compare the two things. You cannot. Yeah. Because they do something totally different from what Celine and I do. They just do something different. It's not. Whereas great vocalists don't have a genre. They're not trapped in one place or another. They're just a great vocalist. You sing everything.
That's absolutely
all
right.
of the time.
Peabo, you have the gift of every single song that you sing. You're right. It doesn't matter what the song is, but you put your heart and your soul into it. And that has to be the reason that you've been able to stay on top in an industry where a lot of people don't. I mean, especially in the 90s when hip-hop was, everything, and so many things were changing, and people were trying to sound like each other and sampling and all of that.
Well, that's actually how I got into the business. I got into the business when disco music was... Everything was on 2 and 4, and everything was, you were going to hear a disco version of the Star Spangled Banner. You're just going to, I mean, there were several, actually, so, but that's why Soul Train Cruise is so important, because it's, you take your father, you take Non Cornelius out of the picture, and a lot of people don't get discovered or don't get validated. It's never going to happen because the fact that he could put you on a platform where people could see you, and because I'm going to tell you, you weren't validated until you did Soul Train. I'm sorry, you were just not. You can be real good, really, really good. Yeah, he's real good, but he's never been on Soul Train. Right. It's funny when you think about it, but it's true. But so it's like you said, you have there's always some help. There's always a blessing, and all even the new. There are a lot of new artists like John and Ariana that are formidable. They're formidable at what they do, and they do their thing really, really well. But you, as an audience, you can't get confused with somebody that's great at their side, that's at their style, as opposed to being able to sing any and everything. That's two totally different things. Listen, nothing is going to stop a woman from feeling a certain way when Teddy went, "Turn them off." Nothing,
That's true.
and it translated this to something totally different that he didn't actually say. but everybody's laughing. All the women are laughing because they know the words change when he says them. He's saying one thing, but women are interpreting it as something totally different. And they feel like they should lose a piece of clothing. No, but you go from that to so when you're trying to create music, when I was writing music, and found myself in the company of the Roberta Flacks of the world. You take Roberta Flack away, we don't even have Luther Vandross. She plucked that one out as well. So you got when you think of it like that, she was She was a lot like your father in that she could see things in people that other people couldn't see. You know, they both validated people that Luther couldn't get signed. Believe that or not, he couldn't get signed at a label. He tried for years to get signed at a label.
Well, you know what? We're gonna go back to a break for a commercial for All
Yeah,
Access
we are. We can
Pass,
talk
and
to you and-
we're gonna hear that story about Luther
Yes, we
Vandross
want to
who
hear
couldn't get signed.
everything.
It's my pleasure.
We'll be back in just a few minutes right here on All Access Pass. All Access Pass. I'm Angela Stribling, my handsome co-host, Tony Cornelius.
Thank you, thank you.
Don't you like how I say handsome every time?
Well, again, you're being politically correct, and you're saying the right things at the right time.
See, that's
I'm
my
just-
work right there.
This is work.
That's my good work right there.
Our very special guest tonight, Peabo Bryson. He's telling us so many wonderful stories. You've got so many great stories about your career.
Well, it's been a long career, and it's
Thank God for that.
thank God for that. I tell you what, I think about it now. I mean, you know, it's not facing your own mortality that frightens me at all. I don't care about that. I mean, but I do care about what I do now. I think more clearly and more thoroughly through what I'm doing, any music that I'm doing, or any philosophy that I take on to myself. I kind of take life a little more seriously than I used to, and I thought I was always a fairly serious person, but even more serious now. So everything I do at this point in my life, in my stage of my life, is really about legacy, and it's unfortunate that you have to do the same thing. I mean, we all do, but you know, I'm kind of relishing the opportunity to leave my legacy and mold it the way I want it. You know, so there are things I haven't done on my bucket list, like I haven't hosted a program or a music program with Tony Cornelius
Uh-oh, wait a minute now.
and Miss Stribling. I haven't done that. He and I haven't been invited on The Voice yet, but you know,
Today's
or
your lucky day.
I'm just saying. So there are people that I've met, artists. I mean, like, well, they were artists. They were artists. There are producers that I've never worked with, like Terry and Jimmy. I'd never worked with them. We always run into each other at dinner or something. Let's do something together. We've been saying that for 1,000 years. Turns out we finally got to work together.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm telling you, it's a really awesome. And what I asked of them was something simple. You know, I could say, well, I only want to do my music, the songs I write, or I don't want to be produced by anybody because I am a producer. You have to leave your ego outside of all that if you're ever going to be anything close to being objective. And so my question to them was, how do you see me at this point, this day and age, and what should I be doing? And I wanted to know what I was missing, because when you're narcissistic, you're gonna miss something. You know, that's just the way. And I think that narcissism is pretty much an intro to sociopathic behavior. I mean, it just is what it is, and we got enough of that.
Yeah, we do.
Running our country. So.
Yeah.
Well, you know, people, is there anybody that you would like to sing with at this point? I mean, I was going to ask you about the difference between Celine Dion and
See,
Regina Bell.
I
However,
thought he liked me. And I thought he cared for me, right?
He does.
But he's asking me a question that's going to get me killed.
No, you won't get killed.
It's
Just
not-
go for it. It's
you
just
can't.
us.
In truth, it's the same way about. I feel the same way about that as I feel about comparing John Legend and Ariana's version of Beauty and the Beast to Celine and ours. You really can't compare one to the other because they all do something totally different.
Yeah.
You know, Roberta's got a thing that she does, and for some reason we just fit. You know, I know what she's going to do, and she knows what I'm going to do. She knows what I can do, and I know what she can do, and she's very good at that. So then you got fiery people that. Working with Natalie was, you know, you can't work with Natalie Cole and be that close and not fall in love. She looks in your eyes and you're just done. you just, and you know she's married and all that kind of stuff, and you look at him like, okay.
That is
Wait a minute, people. Wait a minute.
I'm just saying.
Your wife is sitting behind me, man.
Listen, I know, and lovely she is, and it saved my
gorgeous.
life. I must tell you. You know, my wife is actually the nicest girl I've ever gone out with ever in my life.
I agree.
I'm being honest.
Girl.
I mean,
Beautiful girl.
And I just looked at it and I said, you know what, you look kind of bitchy though. You know what I mean? And I was just like, like she would be hard work and all that, but it's just not in her. I mean, she's the sweetest person I've ever been around.
Really
She's
It's
easy
beautiful.
to be around. And
That is beautiful.
She really is.
Take a bow, darling.
Listen, I get that same feeling you got for about Natalie, I get about your wife when I see her sometimes. I'm like, oh my God.
see, no, I mean, look, he said, yeah, so.
But you're my man.
Yeah,
you're my man.
See, no.
You're my man.
Listen,
So
if he didn't love me, he'd take a shot.
Okay.
Like, he'd take a shot at it.
But meanwhile, Peabo strategically placed her behind Tony this time.
That's right. I can't see her. I can't see
so
her
he
right
can go
now.
like.
Right. So you know what? You talk about things that are on your bucket list. I know that you've done some
Right.
acting in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And is that something else we're going to see more of?
You know, I'm gonna wait and see what this new project with Terry and Jimmy does, because it's really a really good project, and it's gonna be released June 9th. So we've got some momentum going up to that, some things that we're going to do, and actually Tanya and I have a couple of television things that we're going to do, because it's obviously a May-December kind of relationship, right? Yeah. And and I tell her I don't feel bad about her being December. I mean, but I don't feel bad about it. It's so we have that going, but the whole acting thing is. I've done like everything you could think of except for film itself. That's the only medium of acting I haven't done. I mean, I've done traveling theater for a year change, or a year and a half, and some even 2 years. And I've done Pork and Best at the Michigan Opera for a summer. Then I actually did an episode of Fame. I swear, don't go Google that thing.
I missed
Don't,
that.
You know they're gonna go.
YouTube. It's probably on YouTube.
My wife looked at that thing and she cracked up. She just played it over and over and over and over and over again. It gave me the worst time of my life. But that's on my bucket list at some point. I want to sing a duet with Streisand at some point.
Wow, that'd be interesting.
I've come very close, but the last time, but then that may not be the best idea. The last time I had an opportunity to sing with her, 9/11 happened. This was, it was the next day 9/11 happened, and I couldn't go anywhere. So it didn't. I want to do Mecca. I want to make the walk myself. That's one of the things that's on my bucket list. I want to do a legitimate safari. I don't want to kill anything, because I was raised a country boy. I don't kill anything that I'm not going to eat. I mean, and it's I don't kill for sport. I don't do anything for sport. I don't think that using anybody or anything, any live thing. I got my issues with killing ants at this particular point.
No, you don't need to go hunting.
Yeah,
you definitely don't need to go hunting.
No, and I'm a hardcore country boy, but I have such great respect for all life now, and I think that's probably a good thing to have evolved into whatever that is.
Yeah, it is. I know we've got so many things we're like.
Go ahead.
I want to ask. I just want to ask one quick question,
No,
and then
don't
I'll give
ask
him
him
back
any
to
more
you.
questions. Don't
Just
ask
one?
him. Go ahead.
All right, you mentioned Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis
Right.
a couple times. This is your first time having them produce you.
Yes.
So how has this project been different? What's going on with that?
Well, first of all, Terry's got me saying things that I would never say. He's like, oh, no, he's not. It's not go on and get it. And it's like, he's gon' get it.
And there is a difference.
So does this have anything to do with romance at all?
It does. I mean, it's just that
Don't get it. Don't get it.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
But it's a different kind of romance. It's the song is called "Stand for Love," and it's got a really good message. But it was really hard to get me to say, "Go and get it." Go and get it. It's like, okay, Terry. You know what? But again, it was appropriate for the work that we were doing. For the song, it was appropriate and all that. And you get a chance to. I got a chance to be, the proper me and all that. But that's, But it's working with them is. I wanted them to challenge me, and that's what they did. And we never worked together, so they don't know if it's real or not real, if it's live or Memorex, and so they kind of just kind of see what you can do, and they have a different kind of process. They're just like, he starts playing me a track, and I'm going, I start humming. He says, "You feeling something?" I said, "Maybe." He said, we're just sitting there in the studio, and so he hands me a microphone and says, "Hum it." So I'm humming what I'm hearing in my head to this track, and he says, "Oh yeah." He said, "Want to go write it?"
Oh, that's so cool.
And I go, okay. So I go outside, and a couple hours later, he says, "You got anything?" I said, "Well, maybe." I show him what I have, and he goes, "Okay. Want to sing it?" Wow. That's them producing. I mean, so their whole thing is about wanting you to be as much yourself as you can, which is the coolest thing on the planet. They want as much of me as possible, so it's not. And I think that's one of the things they have in common with Soul Train and its whole concept, because you never have to be anything but yourself, and that's what makes this probably the greatest cruise on the planet, because it represents that philosophy.
That leads me into a question that we were talking about over the break, which was how people react to you here at Soul Train, and what you do when you're here as an artist. Yeah. And then on top of that, I'd like to ask you what drives you, as my question to you. What drives you?
All right. So there's a couple of things. I was just up on deck. I mean, trying to get to the food. It's not going to happen, right? It just doesn't. I mean, you have to. We almost made it to the food. You know what? You got to stop. They're people. And you gotta stop and take the time with them. That's the whole thing. Because the first thing you have to understand, and we were talking about this earlier. First thing, there's two things you have to understand. One is that fame is not real. It's your perception of me and your perception of fame for me that is real, not me. I can't be famous for myself because I think I'm famous. You got a lot of that today, but it's not real. It's not real. So I never stopped buying my own toilet paper. You have to stay real in that regard. So when you pass by somebody on the deck, you're on a ship with people that paid money to see you because they're just paying all this money to be near you. So here's the thing. You can't walk by and give them a hello or a handshake or stop and take a picture or anything like that. Why not? I mean, when did you get that good? I don't get that. When you continue to buy your own toilet paper, that means that you have to go to Publix by yourself. So why would you allow anybody to take that away from you? I mean, who are you then, and what are you at that particular point? I mean, if I come home and I've been away on tour for a month, and I come back and there's a ring around my toilet, I don't go, "Oh my God, there's a ring around my toilet. Call someone."
What a
I
crazy...
know where the comment is. I put it there.
Exactly. That is a crazy way for us to wrap up this show.
I put it there.
He put it there. Ladies and gentlemen.
I call my wife is what I do.
That's why they're still together. They get each other. They'll do anything for each other. Peabo Bryson, so happy that you're back on the Soul Train cruise.
Thank you, Peabo.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I hope that this new CD does well enough that I'll have all those other dreams like film and all that other stuff. I'll get to go down my bucket list and just tap them off and tap them off.
Give us the name of the CD and when it drops.
I think we're gonna call it. There's Looking for Sade, which who isn't? And then there's Peabo Bryson Eclectic that we're toying around with because it is eclectic. And then what was the other one, honey? Huh? It comes out June 9th. It is
June 9th. June 9th.
June 9th.
Guys.
Look for
June
it. We
9th.
don't know what it's going to be called, but just look for the name Peabo Bryson. When we come back the next time, we'll know the name.
It could be Stand for Love. It could be Love Like Yours and Mine. It could be. I mean, you got to do. Here's what Terry and Jimmy did for me. They put one of those serious, hardcore ballads, hardcore R&B ballads.
That's what we want from you.
I'm just saying.
Well,
That's
you know what?
what
We're
we
gonna
want
wrap
from
this up right
you.
now because people got a lot of things to do on the Soul Train cruise. Okay.
Yes, he
I got to go back up
does.
there and throw myself in the fray again.
That's right.
what I got to do.
Ladies
So
and
on
gentlemen,
on three.
yes.
Peabo Bryson, on three.
On 3.
Peabo Bryson.
Bryson.
All right, hey.
All access pass.